Let's talk about strategic culture.
First, I hate the phrase culture eats strategy for breakfast.
What does sacrifice look like for you?
I saw the fruits of sacrificing faith in the name of business, and those fruits tasted terrible.
How do you think about building systems that outlast you and stay excellent?
Always going to say, what do I want this to look like 3 years from now? Because if I'm white knuckling my way through this 3 years from now, we made a mistake.
I've never seen a successful leader who can't get to the nuts and bolts in basically the same wavelength as the visionary.
People come through here and they're like showing us really cool ideas and great visions. And when they leave, I'm like, we're not putting any energy behind this because nobody's going to buy it. Your great idea is just an idea.
Jeff, thanks for being with me today.
Nick, I love having you here at the Catholic Gentleman's Studio. But more importantly, I've been hanging out with you for years, and getting to know you better has been a blessing. So thank you.
It's great. I get to ask you questions. We can dive into a conversation here. For those who are listening or watching, that Jeff's built multiple businesses that have lived far beyond him. He's supercharged different organizations. He's doing it now. He's been a good friend of mine for years. So we're gonna have fun today.
That's right.
When we were praying right before this, you said something that struck me.
Okay.
You said, help our businesses be ministry.
Yeah.
I'd love to just unpack that.
For sure.
Part of this podcast series that we're doing is breaking the barrier and bringing our faith fully into the work that we do, specifically for Catholic entrepreneurs. You're one of them. You've been one of them. I've one of them. It's just like, these are your people.
That's right.
Yeah. So how do you actually, do you see business as ministry? Do you differentiate those things? Like, how do you actually see that?
Yeah, I think most people want to differentiate them, and most people want to say that, oh, that's cool, but that's different in my industry, or that wouldn't work for me. And we always put this but in there, and I don't really buy that part. I think you know me well, but to share that a little bit with people, I don't know that any part of our life isn't ministry. And it's whether or not we're owning it and being intentional about it. Where are we at personally, first of all? Then are we able to go and pour out into others in ministry? If you're a business leader, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're just a manager, a leader, if you're just charismatic and people are following you, I don't care which version of that, you have the greatest opportunity for ministry, especially in work. We're doing work all the time. I read a book called Everybody Matters by my boy Bob, just blanked on his name, but from Barry Way Miller. And he coached a lot of people. This guy has, I don't know, let's make it up, 20,000 employees. Then he would coach other CEOs on how to make sure that every encounter you have with somebody, you recognize that they're somebody else's precious son or daughter. That truly, even this accountant who became a major business owner saw everything as a chance to minister, even without the name of Jesus, just for Jesus' sake, right?
You gave me that book. I've read it and given it to people because of you. 5 years ago, said that in a talk, and I was like, man, this is something.
Unbelievable, right? Yeah. He makes the point that I could make $1 million, give a $100,000 scholarship to a college and feel great about myself. And people might even put my name on something, put me up on a stage. And he was talking to a CEO who had 6,000 employees, or you probably know the details. And that guy was so proud because they had 6 scholarships in his name. And that's a big deal. You should do that stuff. That's a really big deal. And he said, 6 scholarships. What are you doing for the thousands of people that work for you day in and day out all year long? And he was like, oh, well, that's just work. He's like, man, if you stop looking at it that way, you could have a much bigger impact on the world in how those thousands of people experience work and community and why work matters.
Yes.
Than any scholarship you ever gave to somebody.
Yes. It's the mentality of like, what's my exit? What's my way out of this so that I can take all the money there and do something different or better? It's like, wait a minute, what are you doing now? Yeah. Who are the people that you're leading? So you've built organizations. I mean, I'd love to just hear it for the folks that haven't heard or seen you in any capacity. Like, do you mind just sharing a little bit of the story that helped you start to see what the fruit could look like? I think just nothing better than just what's the fruit. Like, what's the vision that actually happens when you see business as ministry and as you do that? So, walk me through your story.
Well, I'll tell you one of the counters to it. I used to speak at entrepreneurship groups all the time, like on college campuses. And they would be like, okay, well, I have this potential angel investor and I have this potential exit for a VC firm. And I'm like, well, why are you doing this entrepreneurship thing? Well, I love creating stuff and I love, the innovative process. And I'm like, so you're going to sell off all control and lose your baby. They're going to exit you. But like, wait, but I thought that was the part we were supposed to high five about. And so I think we got to get really honest about like, what are you drawn to in the first place?
Yes.
And at the core, money may be an outward symbol to us that the goods and services we're producing have value and they're valuable to other people. But I've never met somebody who was satisfied and or in this place of fulfillment because of money. It was more like it was helping to be the catalyst or the driver to let them know to keep going, or maybe it fueled them.
It's a feedback mechanism.
Yes.
Yes.
And for some of us, it has a different
livelihood.
Oh, absolutely. Somebody who has a really high level of autonomy could be money motivated, but it's not a dollar amount of money. It's just that money helps me to know that what I'm doing is working.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we establish that, then you start getting into like, well, then why do we work, or what is success? You know, through a very long and difficult process with my executive coach now almost 20 years ago, I realized that my ultimate version of success is love and contribution. If I can truly love others for God's sake, like love God, love others for his sake, and I can do something that I would consider contribution to their formation, their dignity, their livelihood, who they become outside of work, that they're a better human being when they are with family and the community and the church, whatever it is. Love and contribution is success. And I know that we're being successful when the people who leave here to go home for the weekend or whatever show up as better sons, daughters, cousins, community members, right?
Yes.
Now, as an entrepreneur, I get a lot more say in what that organization is going to look like, what we stand for, what we're built upon, what are the no-goes. We never do this.
Yes.
And so I can do that inside of an organization, but it's going to take a little bit more working my way through it than if I started something from scratch.
Thanks for joining us. I know you hear this all the time from all different podcasters, but if you could like and follow us, it's a big deal. It helps us make more content like this. More people see it. We beat the algorithm. We can reach more Catholic entrepreneurs, help you break the barrier, bring your faith into business, and build something beautiful for the Lord. So please like and subscribe. It'll go a long way. Super appreciate it. I'd like to take a moment to share about our upcoming Sent Summit. It's going to be in Denver from September 8th to the 11th. And we're going to be gathering 600 top Catholic entrepreneurs, investors, and philanthropists to come together for conversation, for speaking, for community. We have great speakers lined up. We've got Arthur Brooks kicking off as one of the keynotes. We'd love to see you there. If you're interested, check out our website to learn more details. You know, culture, you're big on culture and right, you're like known as like the culture guru.
That's fun.
Yeah. And I think people have a soft place for culture in their mind, right? Culture is this squishy thing. Oh yeah, you know, culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's a good like tagline, but I don't really know. I just want to get really like gritty with it, right? And
I think you're triggering me right now.
I know. I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I'm trying to like help people see the texture, the texture of culture, and strategic culture, and how it could be like sainthood, like look different and be equally as good in different environments. Yeah. You've led very different companies, largely different cultures that needed its own flavor. It's not all, you know, dancing on Broadway.
That's right.
So help. Yeah. So let's dive into give me a texture to it, and then let's talk about strategic culture.
Yeah. First, I hate the phrase that culture eats strategy for breakfast. I hate it. And because in my mind, what it does is it makes culture and strategy separate and sometimes opposed things, that one is somehow dominating the other. The truth is all culture is strategy. It's just how intentional are you being about it? Because if you're unintentional about culture, you still have one. It still impacts everything. And it is your unintentional, like let it just develop, is your strategy.
Yes.
And every single part of who we are as humans, interacting with each other, not interacting with each other, the way we post jobs, hire, fire, promote, celebrate, ideate, collaborate, cut people, buy companies, like all of it is the culture, it's the fabric, it's the human element of what our company is. And to say anything different would be as if they're not connected. They're so interconnected. It's just, are you doing something about it that recognizes this to the core, not when it's easy, not when it's fun.
Yes.
And culture has nothing to do with your HR department.
Yes.
That is the biggest mistake.
Yes.
HR is a function. It's an admin function.
Yes.
And there's good people there.
Yeah.
They have nothing to do with culture other than they are part of the culture.
If you're walking into a company, you're walking into Red Door, for example, you spent time at one of my businesses. What are the questions that you're asking to give a litmus test of somebody's culture? If you're like, man, if you really want to examine on your culture, here are the questions I'm going in to ask right now that'll tell me a lot.
Yeah. What does vulnerability look like in your workplace?
Saying I'm sorry, giving something that's real, just like, does that happen ever? Where? How?
And then what is the friendship dynamic? Is it only parallel? Is there any friendships that are north and south on the org chart? If they are they perceived to be, that's Nick's boy, that's just his little rat pack that he gets to run around with. And sometimes you can't ask those questions directly. You're asking questions that wrap around those feelings. But you can watch somebody's reaction, the wince in their eyes whenever you ask a question, the how much time do you have kind of a reaction. And it's really not one specific question. It's getting the context. It's getting to watch people interact in the wild. We don't need to be friends with people at work, but we can. We don't need to cry about and share our worst, scariest things from our childhood. But we can be honest about the fact that we don't know what we're doing on some things, or that this is a scary moment for me, or I have a little bit of a fraud complex about this thing that I'm doing. And by doing that and saying, Nick, can you help me? And if you're my employee, or better, you're somebody who works for somebody who works for me, and I'm like, hey, I could use your help on something. Look at this whiteboard. Here's what I'm dealing with right now. What would you do? And then not doing that to placate you, but doing it because I need your feedback. Gosh, didn't we just humanize a relationship that's usually a power dynamic, and instead it's about us going and doing something together? But then you can also just see, if you ask enough of these kind of questions about how are decisions made and when's the last time that somebody took a big risk, tell me about a failure that happened in the last year or two in your company. It's somebody else's fault. It's always circumstantial and never about leadership, never about a bad decision, never about finding our way into something that we shouldn't have been doing, or that not shouldn't have been doing, but that seriously wasn't the North Star of where we were headed. You've done it. I've done it.
100%.
By sharing that, I guarantee we build stronger teams. People that want to work with people, not just people that want to have a job and go home and don't talk to me about work. Brother, I know we did a thing with you with Scent that I got to be featured in, talking about forged through the fire, right? These formative failures of our life. I loved it. Great job. I should download your ebook. But I have one that's so recent that we were living it while we were writing that one, and I have to share it with you. We started Undivided Life. We knew that we would have our advisory consulting side. We help people grow their organizations while promoting human flourishing. At our best, it's all the teachings of the Catholic Church. Sometimes that's hard because from an advisory standpoint, you get to make some decisions and some influence, but not all. We do that. We started a holding company on day one, too, just knowing we would invest in things. It's how we got to be a part of Triumph of the Heart, the movie. It's also where we launched a couple things. We ended up buying a 30-year-old construction company. Great company. On paper, it was great. In reality, it's a good company. But it's the silver tsunami. This guy wanted to retire. He had a cash flowing business, didn't have an exit plan. So we kind of built it around him, and we were good to go. Now, in the rearview mirror, it's pretty obvious we should have never bought this business. When we really look at it, it was 3 hours away. It's a construction company. None of us are like amazing at construction. It has a brand name that is the guy's last name. So it's really kind of connected to him, the person, and his role in that area. And there was not a great backlog. We kind of over-levered ourselves a little bit on the way we restructured it. So we put a lot of money in. We ran it. We put more money in as we were going to get through these dips. We upgraded the technology. We upgraded the customer experience. We did our best to coach some of these employees from afar. We switched out a couple employees. There was things we were doing that were making it better.
Yeah.
But we just kept saying, oh, okay, now we have to pour more money in to get through this part and this part. And finally, one day we called timeout, and it was like, what are we doing? This is one of the hardest meetings I've ever been in, but it was so powerful because I've had other business partners and other leaders before who were not equally yoked in life and faith. with me. They're great people. That's fine. But here I was sitting in a room with Catholic business leaders, looking ourselves square in the eye, and I had written on the board, here is who I am and who I think you guys are from an investment standpoint, time, money, energy, everything, brand. Like,
yes,
here's who I think we are. And I could have never written what I wrote if it wasn't for how painful it was to own this construction company and just feel like we're setting ourselves up for maybe even a bigger cataclysmic failure. And it came down to this. I wrote a manifesto. I don't want to do things that I don't want to do, was the opening line, right? But I said, I do want to do things that I do want to do. And I do want to be involved in things that change the world. I can say that if you give anybody dignified employment and love them regardless of the circumstance, you absolutely are changing the world. So I don't think there's a company in the world, Red Door, you can change the world in how you treat those people. That it was something I cared about. I don't care about constructing metal buildings. That it's within our reach. Financially, that one was kind of in our reach. Physically, it was 3 hours away. So it's not like we show up every day or even every week. So we're batting half of one and none of the other two. And then I said, we need to have an outsized impact on one or all of the following. That we would be able to influence the outcomes because of our, or in this case, my skills, reputation, network, and faith. If you can have some of those or all of those, I'm pretty interested in this.
Yes. You're looking at your competitive advantage. What can we actually offer? Am I going to enjoy this? Can I actually offer something of value? And these are the filtering criteria.
And faith is a weird one, because where does your faith usually impact something, right? Well, let me tell you what was bubbling up at the same time. Through a whole transaction and another firm getting out of the cap table, last year we took over ownership of the Catholic Gentleman. We're in the studio right now. It changes the world. I care about it greatly. It's within our reach. It is influenced in an outsized way by our skills, our network, our reputation, and our faith. Yes. Oh, wow. 7 out of 7. Okay, let's grow that.
Yes.
Then we get our way into, of course, we do the Beatitudes podcast and some other stuff. We got our way into a phenomenal relationship with the founder of an ice cream company. So he started an ice cream company 10 years ago that has award-winning ice cream. That's delicious. That's fun. And he employs adults who have special needs, so Down syndrome and autism. So much so in kind of a leader in this world, and it started to pick up a lot, that he won Employer of the Year in the Down Syndrome Congress last year in 2025. Awesome. And he asked if we could become a part of it. And through a very beautiful process, we became minority owners and the executive team that wrapped around so that he's still in place. He still has majority control. That changes the world. I care about it a whole lot. It's within our reach to grow this, and we have the team to do it. And we can have an outsized impact because of our skills, because of our reputation, because of our network, and certainly because of the way we pray over and with every single part of this organization. So here I'm telling you, I have a couple of organizations now where it's 7 out of 7.
Green light, go.
Yeah. And guess what? We'll still do the advisory work because I know I can still have an impact on for-profit, nonprofit, secular Christian organizations.
Yes, us.
Yeah, both.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. And everything I've done with you fits in with this very, very well.
Yes. So that's there's so much to unpack there. Let's.
By the way, real quick, I lost a lot of money on the other thing.
I was going to say, my next question was like, so you've had this, I think, conviction, revelation from the Holy Spirit in a lot of ways with these Catholic men you're doing business with. You had to sacrifice.
Big time.
Yeah. And you've been sacrificing for a while, though.
Yeah.
If anyone's followed you, knows your story, and knows you're not a stranger to sacrifice. I think that's a part. So I was in San Francisco a couple months ago on a panel with a bunch of Catholic tech leaders, and there was a group of people asking questions for the Q&A. And a gentleman stood up and he said, "What have you had to sacrifice for your faith?" And it caught half the panel flat-footed. One guy had a great answer. But I want to hear, what have you had to sacrifice for your faith in the businesses that you've run, successful businesses? What does that look like? And in a way that, because we're speaking to entrepreneurs who are running businesses, who are in the arena, who are getting cut right, left, and center daily. And that's not a motivating thing. So we'll come back to the motivating piece, but it's a real thing. It's real. And it's what our businesses are called to be altars. And so what does sacrifice look like for you?
All right. First of all, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. And there was times early on where I sacrificed my faith for my business. So don't for a second think that I've always been so bold. I would test the waters, and I would leave those moments or leave those weeks feeling hollowed out because I knew that I was downplaying my faith or not speaking up for times when I should have, or certainly not leaning into the things that I knew were the most important parts of my life. Because it was that I'll get to it someday. And then enough moments happened where I either tested the water and found out someday should be right now, or I saw the fruits of sacrificing faith in the name of business, and those fruits tasted terrible. Terrible. Even the success. I would make money and I felt terrible. As I leaned into this more and more, I started seeing that, oh, okay, well, not only is this versus the worldly successes, this prayer, scripture, real community, pilgrimage, men's groups, like all the things where I'm putting God first, making time for God every morning, then getting into rosary, then getting into daily mass. Not only did I feel better, it stayed with me. It was like the love that satisfied is sitting there and it's real. And everything else was like a drug. You couldn't get enough of it to ever feel good again because it was meaningless. Okay, so the easy version to say of my old company, and they're wonderful human beings, I realized very quickly that my old company was going to grow tremendously fast, and it still is. It's an energy consulting firm. And there's nobody in the industry that does that work for electricity clients, commercial clients, better than this company, period. A lot of that, if not all of it, is because we built a culture that people wanted to work at, they wanted to innovate at, they wanted to take risks at, they wanted to bond together. And in fact, even the kind of senior leadership team below the leadership or the ownership level, I was an owner and a senior leader, we would pray together, people of different denominations going through Lent challenges together. That's beautiful, awesome. Beautiful.
Yes. That's awesome.
I'd have people walk in my office and be like, hey, I think the Catholic Church is really boring. Can you tell me what's happening at Mass? And I was like, praise God. You asked me, let's go. Let's do this.
Yes. Because they knew that you were Catholic. You weren't at that point in your career. You're like, yeah, I'm going to own this. Like this is, and I would love to have a conversation.
I think I got customers who have no faith at all because they respected the fact that I believed what I believed. So that was all kind of playing out. And then we started doing acquisitions. And I told my wife, at some point, I'm going to have to make a really hard decision at this company. And it's not today. But I told her probably in 2016, 2017, I said, someday it's going to come to a head where we're going to have to say, are we ready for us to serve and make money off of a participation in evil that I'm fundamentally and spiritually against in every way? Or would I walk away? And my wife said, well, we already know the answer, don't we? And I said, we do. But I want to have this conversation now because then we don't have to worry about it when the time comes. Like this is the practice. This is the pray up and stay strong because the battle's coming. And brother, 2-3 years later, it hit exactly as I predicted. And I didn't even wait 10 minutes from when I knew we were buying a company that served a Planned Parenthood location before I just walked into my partner, who was also the CEO, and I just said, I can't do this. Like if we go forward with this, I'm out. And to his credit, he thinks differently than I do and sees the world of abortion rights differently than I do. And he said, okay, well, I'm on the opposite side of this. And I said, absolutely. And he was caught off guard. Okay. He said, do you think you can make that account go away so that it doesn't end up in our portfolio? I said, I do. I think I can convince the guy selling us the business not to sell us that deal. I said, but I'm never going to hide this from you. Like I would feel terrible if I stood up for my religious beliefs in secret. And he goes, okay. And I did it. I made it go away. I called the guy the next morning. He was a Catholic guy selling us this business. He was kind of funny about it. He was like, you want me to put more margin on it? I said, no, I don't want to make more money on something bad. But the reality of the situation is that was the day that I found out I would never be the CEO of my own company. I started that company and everybody knew I would run it. And I had recruited 85% of the people there. The brand was my thumbprints everywhere, my tone of voice. I was talking about energy made human was our tagline because I believe so much in the humanity of business. I was traveling around giving speeches, met you doing one of them, talking about my Catholic faith as a business leader. And then here I was with the reality that I just, in that single moment, stroked the letter that said I would never be the CEO. It was never said, it was understood. And we both knew it. And then, praise be to God, that allowed me the freedom to discern and exit from something that everybody identified me as that company and vice versa. I didn't. But it allowed me the freedom to be a lot more serious about discerning my way out of there. And that becomes a place of, I'm going to project things in my brain. What if I was at the same event next year where I'm winning this award, but I no longer have that logo on my shirt? Or I might sit and talk with a guy like you and say, I'm thinking about leaving.
Yes.
And feel what it feels like when I say it to you. Sorry,
yes.
Go ahead.
No. I was gonna hang out there for a second on that. So you went in and had a tough conversation where you were brutally honest on a pretty fundamental worldview difference with a business partner.
Yep.
And sacrificed a lot in that setting and situation. A lot of people I talk to, when I say, hey, we want Catholics to be able to do business together.
Yeah.
The first thing is, well, I don't want to just do business with you because you're Catholic. I want you to be excellent at your craft. And absolutely, like that's a huge part of it.
It's a fundamental virtue that we're called to is excellence.
Right. But can you maybe share a little bit? I mean, that's I think you've given a couple examples, but some of the value of working with people with an aligned worldview and maybe the speed that comes with it. Like I've seen it in certain areas, just like similar. Yeah. What have you seen? Because we're building this Catholic ecosystem at Sent, and it's like I'm seeing the synergies, but people that haven't experienced it don't quite get it always. They're like, oh, but yeah, can you just help like paint the picture a little bit?
It changes everything. It changes everything. You know, if I would have stayed at the old firm, there was a liquidity event. It's growing like crazy. I would just be sitting very comfortable financially, and wasn't very hard for me to do my job after I taught everybody how to do my job, right? I'd probably be traveling, speaking at Sent Ventures, right? But I gave that up and was so blessed that in my exit discernment, partnered up with Nick Besner, who I met. Do you know how we met? We met at a Catholic Mass when he first moved to Dallas. He was a single man. I had 2 kids. And he was standing behind me during the Our Father. And when it ended, my not even 2-year-old daughter at the time turned to him and put her arms up and did an entire Hail Mary in her cute little voice. And he sat there, his eyes were wide open. And I turned and I looked at this young man behind me in the robe behind me, probably 13, 14 years older than him. And he goes, wow. And that's why I turned after Mass and shook his hand and introduced myself.
That's awesome. That's the Holy Spirit working through your daughter right there. That's incredible.
And that never stopped because as the relationship continued and we kept trying to figure out like how can we someday get his company to buy my company, we were doing all sorts of stuff. He was in private equity. The moment came when he said, how's it going at your job? And I said, I'm going to leave at the end of the year. And he blurts out, well, maybe we should do something then. And I'm thinking to myself, you're not going to leave your job. So we go to lunch. I said, why'd you say that? He said, the Holy Spirit. I can't give you any other reason. What happened right there is we prayed over the rest of that lunch. And then we've never stopped praying over our business, our relationship with one another, over our hiring decisions, over the struggles. You know, I just told you this story about having to dump this company at the end of the year, which we ended up selling back to the founder. And there's never been a day in this business where we're not praying together. And what it ends up feeling like then is the same way if the Lord is present in your home and is the most important thing in your home. If you can make Jesus the CEO of your business, and I'm not saying that to be cute, I mean it like that is the truth of what the way we're running this business. Then when Cody Slape sends us a message over 2 years ago, and the email, we have 0 employees at the time, the email was, blessed are the optimizers. And I'm like, what's this? And I start reading it out loud, And he's describing us and saying, I want you guys to succeed and you need an optimizer like me. I couldn't finish the second sentence. So I was like, we're hiring Cody. I guess we should get ready to hire somebody. And it was so clear to us because it was a movement of the Holy Spirit. It made perfect sense. We just then started saying, we're going to keep going on this mission field and building this up. And I can remember Nick, who left private equity for crying out loud. I'm older than him. I'd been very deep into this business and faith world longer than he had. I'm not in any way better than him. I just started from a different place than him. He comes to me, we're about a year and a half into this, and he goes, oh my gosh, it has dawned on me that the entire strategy of our business is magnanimity. Help people. I said, you're right. And he goes, and by doing our business with excellence, which is part of what you said, people are coming to be curious about and to know God just by the way you're doing business. You should operate with excellence at all times. Mm-hmm. Excellence changes when your son is sick and in the hospital. It changes when you are well rested and fully athletic and feeling great. It changes when you're in the middle of the busiest season at work or when it's the summertime, but it's still your excellent best at all times. If you operate like that, and you do it for the glory of God, and you love Jesus and others for his sake. Try to tell me what's bad, because even that construction company I just told you about is the greatest blessing. Like going through that trenches, the losses, the 50 different ways we sliced and diced how we could exit and get it back to the founder was hard. And we prayed our way through all of it. We prayed for that man that we sold it back to. We have a better relationship with him now than ever.
You got an upgraded business.
Yeah, he did. Got a better business.
Tremendously. So you are also highly strategic and have built things that have outlasted you. Yep. And so you're thinking about these systems, and we have a lot of entrepreneurs listening to this that are thinking, okay, I'm in the trenches right now. How have you built? How do you think about building systems that outlast you and stay excellent? Yeah, because that's a huge thing, right? Your standards are really high. I know you. I think people see kind of a maybe the
fun guy.
Yeah, the fun guy, right? The fun guy. But like you're metric driven, you're data driven. Like that's a side people don't always get to see. From working with you, do. Yeah. So yeah. Help me. Like help me understand or help speak to me as our audience about building systems that maintain excellence and elevate you as the leader of the organization to do great things.
I think first, before you start worrying about the long-term sustainability, you got to worry about what are you going to do so that it's an excellent organization and isn't relying on you or I to white knuckle our way through it. There is a time to white knuckle it. You've been doing it. When I started a new business or launched something else, I'm deep in there, and it's early mornings and some crazy 10 phone calls on the drive home kind of times, right?
Do you have a time like, hey, if that's longer than X amount of time, or is it just kind of
no? I think that there's too many variables to put a time frame on it. I think there's a reasonableness and a prudence, but I'm always going to say, what do I want this to look like 3 years from now? Because if I'm white knuckling my way through this 3 years from now, we made a mistake. Yeah, but I do know what I want it to look like. So in the case of let's take Howdy Homemade Ice Cream. 3 years from now, I think we're slated to have stores 32 and 34, opening up at, same month as we are in right now. For that to be true, then there's a bunch of decisions by about 12 months from now that I shouldn't be the one making it all. I shouldn't even see it. For that to be true, then we have to have some fundamental agreements on things 6 months from now. For that to be true, then we need to have X, Y, and Z in place right now.
Yes.
So it's the vision cast all the way back to what do I have to do right now if that's true?
Yes. So is that from a wealth of experience in that? How much time are you spending on back planning your vision? Because what you just did a lot. Yeah. Give me a ball.
I would say it's probably one of the things I do the most. It's if we're going to have to have somebody who can handle the build out of new stores, then I got to figure out what it is we're even talking about so that I can get the right people in place, the right vendors and measurements and guardrails, and when do you need me, when do you not need me? Yes.
Yes.
So I'm probably doing some of it right now myself. But somebody asked me the other day, said, is all you do strategic work on whiteboards? Because every time they walk through here, they see me on a whiteboard. I'm like, it's probably not as brainstormy as you think it is. Most of the time it's fundamentals. Yes. For this to be true, then we have to work our way all the way backwards. Brother, I did it with my own family. My wife and I on our very first date said we were going to get married and have a huge family where someday we were going to have so many grandkids in the backyard, we'd have trouble knowing who is who. Well, we started working our way backwards. Well, for that to be true, we probably need a lot of kids. For that to be true, then we need this. And then we said, okay, we agree on this. And we're a little bit crazy, but we would do it through adoption or
yes.
regular babies or whatever.
Yes.
So then it started to help to shape our goal setting. And I know I'm talking about family for a second, but this is no different.
No, this is great.
If I had beat my projected earnings for this year and knew that there was 4 projects that I really wanted to do at my house and that I also needed to upgrade the car and blah, 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 then we're going to go through the matrix of which ones of these things in our home is the best suited for the right money at this time to build the future. Well, playing in the backyard is huge to us, so we're going to put the investment there. Having a safe place in this other little side yard is pretty critical and not as expensive. So maybe that's the step we take now because they're little while we're still building out the backyard. The car, I probably don't, well, that's a bad example because I don't care. But there's things I could do to really make my front yard beautiful.
Yes.
I'm not putting the money there.
No, it's so interesting because you just, for that to be true, that is a discipline.
And it's crazy rational.
It's crazy rational, and it's a discipline that I actually think, so what I think visionaries do, what I've found myself doing, I'll put myself in this bucket, and a lot of other builders in our network, they're visioning the 3-year, and then they jump back to the present and start doing stuff that's the next right step that's urgent, and miss the ladder.
There's a piece in between.
There's a huge piece in between. What you've just said is you've built multiple companies that have scaled without you, and you spend maybe the largest in the pie chart amount of your time on whiteboards,
100%,
strategically backing out from the future vision.
And what you're doing then too is helping other people to think like this so that they can understand. It's not that I'm just telling them what to do. We're teaching them how to think. Because if you know where we're going and why we're making all these moves and the bigger picture, you're going to run into a question that none of us even put on the whiteboard.
Right.
But you don't need to come to me because you have an ownership of the direction.
Right. So
make a decision. And there's no such thing as the right decision. You just make a decision.
Yes. I'm so glad. I mean, honestly, I'm in a period right now where I see the vision, a few people see the vision, but some people are like, I don't see it. Mm-hmm. That tells me I'm not communicating it well. And an exercise like that would really unpack what you're talking about.
Yes.
Because as long as you say for that to be true and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Okay, let's go back to the vision. Or it's, oh, wait, yep, that's what that entails. Well, that would mean this. Well, that would mean we need 2 area managers. Well, that would mean we need a head of development. Well, that would mean, and it just boom, 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 boom. And it's exciting.
It's exciting.
And it's awesome. People are like, oh, I see myself in that picture. Wait, I can get on board for that 3-year journey with you. That's awesome.
And you know that they don't belong.
Or they don't.
But then,
that's fair.
So I'm going to tell you 2 things that are a little different. One is you're working your way backwards 100%. But I'm also going to ask you questions that I'm not leading the witness and I don't need you to give me some color commentary. They're literally going to be like, okay, when that happens, Nick, how do I know it? Is it an email? Is it in a system? Did you text me? Do I have to go find it? Like, oh yeah, we blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. Tell me the exact, like, what's the next step? And then is this true or not true? Like, just let's keep going through this because then I'm going to come back up and I'm going to start talking about the big picture again. And some people try to answer the question I'm not asking. When we're going through the build up part, so we're coming back to today and then building up, let's talk about nuts and bolts. And I mean, literally, the package came with 3 nuts. They go on these bolts.
Yes.
Not,
yes,
I feel this way.
No, it's detailed. I think honestly, the whole, the entrepreneurial world's full of these books, right? And different like mentalities and stuff. And sometimes people put themselves in a visionary category and then write off the ability to do exactly what you're talking. It's a kiss of death. I've never seen a successful leader who can't get to the nuts and bolts in basically the same wavelength as the visionary.
People come through here and they're like showing us really cool ideas and great visions. And when they leave, I'm like, we're not putting any energy behind this because nobody's going to buy it because there's nobody doing anything. Your great idea is just an idea. The other thing I was going to tell you, we talked a second ago, pulling it back up here, where I spend the majority of my time helping to work all the way backwards to what you would be doing today so we can be planting the seeds so I can continue to step further and further out of the doing. My time then becomes coaching you in your thinking, not in your action. It's helping you to work through how you're looking at a problem. How did you look at the dynamics between these 2 or 3 people that you were trying to coordinate? When it fell apart, what were you thinking? What would you have done differently? How would you coach somebody else who was going through this? And if I can work with, John Heinen, our good friend who does a lot of work with both of us, right? He's part of Undivided Life and he's a Catholic gentleman. If I can help coach John Heinen, then I actually start coaching John Heinen as a coach to other people. Yes. Now you're talking about scale because now I'm even removed from the coaching. Then you have culture. Then you have fabric of the way people think about innovation and speaking up and speaking out and challenging norms and being highly aligned, being loosely controlled. These things that I believe in my heart have allowed us to go so quickly in all these organizations.
Yes.
But none of that would happen if I was just doing whatever I thought was the best next thing to get to that future. I got to keep extracting myself out of it.
Yes. Okay, so I've got a personal struggle with this. I'd love your insights. You can coach me.
Let's do it.
Real
Yeah.
Time. Intellectually, I get what you're saying, right? But what it looks like in practice, and stop me if I'm off here, but what it looks like in practice is incredible patience. From what I've seen. So you probably have seen enough of these plays, right? You've coached a lot of people. You've run successful businesses. You know what's going to happen. You've got a vision that's probably better than whatever the person in front of you is telling you, or more probable, or better in like the objective sense. Like that's more likely that this thing will be good, and can backdate steps that they're not even seeing. And so you're in the coaching, in the coaching, you're basically just a big reserve of patience. Is that help me reframe that, because I sometimes get like I want to move fast and that's what really kills it.
Yeah, do this.
Right, I have great people on my team. Like
I've watched you. You're very fast.
And I try to like go at the pace of the room, and I'm like I don't coach people as well as I could because of that. So that's where I'm coming to. I'm like, hey, I need to get better in this area. How have you framed your world such that it doesn't feel like just a burden of patience?
Yeah, patience is part of it. I think it's not just patience. I think it's a shift in our belief about what we're doing as leaders. Like, what's our purpose? Because if my purpose was just to make the most of something the fastest for the most income, then I think I would be aligned only to outcomes and not to the excellent inputs in the formation of the person. So said differently, I do care about outcomes, but that's not my purpose. I care way more about forming the people around me, which, by the way, is how you can eventually get to where the organization's bigger, it's sustainable, and I don't have to be making $400 decisions. So in these situations, you're right. I probably can, with 98% accuracy, predict a poor outcome from an activity. And I got to weigh real quick, is this going to sink the ship? Is it going to kill the brand? No. Okay, well, I'm going to let this keep playing out, because then I can go back 2% of the time, be delightfully surprised by the outcome. And the rest, work through how did you think about this and your resource deployment and the time you spent and where you got your inspiration or knowledge from. So it's a coaching moment. I'm going to go back to the construction company. This is the failure du jour right now. A year ago, I was at an offsite with a couple of our guys. And I said, we have the wrong CEO running this company right now. Decent human being, wrong person. I'm like, what are you saying? I said, I'm 100% against this person being our CEO, but I'm not going to lay down some sort of a edict, because I actually want it to hurt you guys to where you get to the point where you're 100% sure. They're like, I don't know. And I said, I know. I am. And my wife, she goes, I think it's awesome when you do this, because she knew I was going to take a financial hit and add stress by not just calling something what it is at that moment.
And she's fully on board. She's with you 100%. I love unpacking this part of
awesome.
Right.
So awesome.
Right. She's your half.
Yeah. If I should show you text messages from this week, my friend. I mean, this, like, you're my protector and God always provides. That's what I got when I flew out to DC the other day and I called her about something. She said, you're the protector, God's the provider. We trust in him. I'm like, I'm so grateful that she's my teammate in all of this. So we keep going on this CEO thing and we get to the summertime and the rest of the team is like, oh my gosh, it's the wrong person. We should have done this months ago. And they look at me and they're like, you knew this. And I say, yes, but I'm not telling you I told you so. This is not pride. This is not you guys are wrong.
Big coaching.
It's like, and it hurts, right? And they're like, yeah, it hurts. Well, it ends up hurting a lot more after that for the months ahead when we end up having to unwind, because even to get out, we had to spend some money to clear up some stuff to get out, right? So it's money in, money during, and money on the way out. And I am so grateful for what it did to take a group of people who loved working together, that were dynamic, that were committed, that were open, that were vulnerable, and went to a deeper level of trust and experience. Like, I kind of need you to go through the firefight, because if it's always easy, or if Jeff made a decision, everybody, he decided, what are you learning? How are we bonding?
I love that. And so much of it's inspiring for me because I'm trying to become better at it. And that's a great frame of just, okay, am I just trying to race to build an organization that has a lot of quote unquote impact? Or like, am I trying to, in the process here, elevate souls, bring them closer to Christ, call them to higher levels of creativity and excellence? One of the things, so this is just, I'd love for you to speak to mentors, because I think this is an interesting dynamic. We at Sent, we're helping build this Catholic ecosystem. We have Catholic entrepreneurs that are running businesses in the arena. But then for every one Catholic entrepreneur, there's probably 15 people around the ecosystem, from coaches and mentors and partners and capital, that you need to make that thing run. Yeah. So it's like it's a high powered jet fuel. It's in the center of this thing, rocket ships. And there's a whole group of people that have built successful businesses, live integrated lives, that are not talking and pouring wisdom into these people in the arena. It's like you've got people with swords and people in the arena fighting with their hands, getting killed. It's like, can you just give me a sword here, please? I could really use a sword. Can you just speak to the mentors here? What advice would you give to mentors to adopt a little more of what you're talking about in this mindset? Because we're trying to connect more mentors to entrepreneurs. We're looking for them all the time.
Maybe even the word mentor creates this mental block of formality, because I've seen people that are like, well, what do you want from this mentorship program? And what is the goals? And you're like, okay, look, here's this human that needs help. And you're equally aligned in a lot of things, but you're way further along and you could help them a lot. I think the breaking down of the formality and making mentorship as personal as you can comfortably get it is critical. Because when I know you, the person, I care about the whole you, not the you that is making decisions about which levers to pull for your strategic growth initiative. Those are important. But if I don't actually know you, then I might miss some part of the connection. We both know Peter Blute at Young Catholic Professionals. I got to mentor him when he was a lot younger and it felt very formal. Then I got to mentor him in the year leading up to and throughout the transition where he became the executive director. Brother, he wouldn't mind me sharing this at all. I kept making it as personal as I could, and he started off, what should my 180-day plan be? What should my first 24 hours be? And he was playing the playbook that everybody else had told him. And I was like, focused on him. How does he feel in certain situations? When does he know that he's in his flow versus when does his countenance change and his delivery becomes business robot, and he's losing his power in that. And I literally loved him through the first part of this and watched all these light bulbs going off when he realized that he had the freedom to encounter people just as Peter, not Peter, the new executive director. I went to that announcement at their conference when they made the shift, and I had so many people come up to me and say, I've never had a deeper, more meaningful conversation with Peter.
Praise God.
He had more conversations there than he'd ever had before, because he was usually behind the scenes. So he was swamped, conversation. But he then showed up for people as Peter and made it personal and made it real and humanized it. And so does that help the mentor? Yeah. Like cut the Cut the formality where you got to be the CFO mentor, or you got to be the mentor who scaled a business and sold it for a multiple. Like, that is actually just some detail on your rap sheet. That's not the human being. And this is human mentorship. Can I share something with you that's hit me?
Yeah, 100%.
I was running sales at this energy company in 2008. And the market had flipped really strangely. We were in some bad energy trades. We went from doing okay to losing about $1 million a day. And our publicly traded parent company was about to file bankruptcy on this entity. And we had to save it. So you know what people do? They quit. The head of contract operations quits. The head of credit quits. The head of whatever. And they look at you and they say, okay, well, now you got to figure out how to do your job. And we got to solve that job. And we can't hire anybody. And, you know, and you're going to report to the board every other day at 8 a.m. It was the best experience ever to go and save a company that was getting shot at from every direction, creditors and clients and the marketplace. And we still made mistakes that made our mistakes worse. Like, it was wild. But it made us so acutely aware of every detail of who we were. And a lot of that, for X to be true a year from now, then what needs to be true 6 months from now, 3 months from now, 1 month, all the way down to today. And then what are you going to do to put those pieces in place and keep planting the seeds? And we saved that company. It's the same company that 3 years later, when they tried to sell us for $200 million, we sold it for $300 million. Guess what we got for doing that? One heck of a bonus, all the payouts that we expected, and the retention bonuses from not being the people that quit whenever the bottom was falling out. Mm-hmm. You want to be a truly Catholic leader, do things that are meaningful and hard with love and contribution, and never stop praying.
I love it. Thank you, Jeff. Super appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
We created this podcast, Breaking the Barrier, to break the barrier between our faith and our work, specifically for Catholic entrepreneurs. If you're leading a business, you have the authority and really the responsibility to be fully bringing your faith into everything that you do. As Catholics, we see our faith as reality. It's just the world in which we live. And the people that I'm talking to are just examples of how that looks from all different industries. Men and women who have tried to walk the walk in the arena of what it looks like to be a saintly builder. Hopefully these stories and these examples and these practical tools and insights not just inspire you, but empower you to do that within your own business. That's our mission at Sent, is to help form you as a Catholic entrepreneur to change the world, like so many saintly builders before us. Thanks for being here. Hope to see you soon.